Dark Strategies. Tonight we have another battle report that we'll be filming 1,250 point Orks versus Adepta Sororitas. Now Chris is going to do field his Adepta Sororitas again, an extra 250 points from last battle, so we'll see what he adds. More than likely it will be Pentanid engines. Like I am to destroyers, he loves his Pentanid engines, so the Orks are going to have to bring something to crack some armor. The Green Tide I just don't think will work very well against the Adepta Sororitas. So when we get into the army list, I have 1,250 points of Orks built up. It's a spearhead detachment, so I'm bringing a lot of heavies, both backfield units, tractor cannons, Ludas. I got some Dakajet in there to possibly soften up some of that armor before it gets to me. The tough thing with Orks is, they have to get stuck in. That's actually the fun part of playing Orks. But going against Pentanid engines will be a struggle for them. They're not like Necrons where they can wipe them off turn 1, turn 2 with all that firepower. Orks need to get up there with their power claws, their kill saws, their dread claws, and chop them up. It's just a Pentanid engine does the same thing back to you. So if you don't do it correctly, things can go poorly very, very fast. So that will be the tactics tonight as far as getting stuck in the correct way when it comes to close combat. So that is what we'll be facing tonight. We're going to do a very similar format than last time. The phase-to-phase end caps with the score addition. So nothing tweaking as far as format currently, but excited to get 250 points extra in this battle report. And it's a strike force, so that it unlocks the extra CP. So we're both fielding 12 CP to begin with. Orks will be spending a lot of that pre-game for detachments, stratagems, and yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Orks, for me personally, been playing them for a while. They're not a playstyle I typically. I don't think they're my core playstyle, but they're a fun playstyle. It's definitely a more, I don't want to say laid back, but it is more of a fun type of army to play where you kind of just go with the flow and see what happens sometimes with Orks. And I think the battlefield that you'll see shortly, which by the way, Ork debut battle report on the new terrain. Been working all winter on painting this up. I've been using a lot of the most of it is the Kill Team Ork terrain, and then just converting pieces, older terrain kits, kit bashing stuff to kind of get it all together. And I feel the Bad Moon's army, so that yellow and the rust, I just love it. So it should be, if anything, a very pretty battle to watch, and I hope you do like the Ork board. So let's see what happens. For tonight's battle, we have the debut showing of the Ork board. I've been working on this over the winter months. A lot of bits, actually 2.5 boxes of Kill Team for the structures, and then feathering in some of our Mechanicum Imperial industrial structures left and right. And then we did create another, like our Mechanicum silos, we have Orks silos all decked out with that. So it's been fun to put this one together. I wanted to show it off. I'm very excited to have a battle on this one tonight. We are doing 1,250 points Adepta Sororitas versus Orks. So themed nicely as the Adepta Sororitas kind of try to attempt to break into the Ork Stompa yards. It'll be a fun battle to fight on. As far as the terrain goes, like I said, everything is GW aside from the kit bashed silos, PVC pipes, but all GW parts. We have GW objective markers. Pick those up at Adepticon, Warhammer Community Special Edition ones. And then the board itself is the 2 sets of the Kill Team boards put together to make that Strike Force size game board. So that is what we're going to be playing on. Should be pretty thematic as we put our armies through their paces on this one. For mission, we're going to be playing out of the chapter-approved Warzone Nakman Grand Tournament mission pack, page 42 and 43, Data Scry Salvage. is the mission. If you want to follow along and have that book, feel free to pop that open as you watch this one. So I wanted to get into deployments and objective markers as we normally do before the game begins. So I'll switch off the lights to show objectives a little bit better with the green glowing triangle. So one deployment, we're going diagonally here. One deployment is behind the green glowing triangles on this side. Pretty open space. And on this side, in the other open space, is this deployment. So 24-inch, no man's land. Objectives, we do have one objective. The home objective for one team will be here, and the other over there. And then right down the line in no man's land, we have an objective behind the silo, objective in front of the silo, a big line of sight blocking structure, the Ork Stampa Tower, and then another one in between the two towers, and another one symmetrically again behind the silo. So that will be the objective markers, actually 6 of them for this mission. So it'll be fun to see actually two 1250 point armies, kind of spread out onto these objectives to get those points. There's a lot of points to get, but probably not a lot of models at this point's game. So, like I said before, excited to show this Ork board off. Let's get into the game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a 1,250 point battle against the Adepta Sororitas. I will be bringing the glorious Bad Moons clan culture Orks, painted in their yellowy goodness. Tonight you see a spearhead detachment in front of you. I am spending the extra 3 CP to get this detachment. As an Ork player, I truly love the heavy support options Orks have to offer, so it's well worth that 3 CP. In any detachment, we need an HQ. So tonight I will be bringing War Boss Bloodgut himself. He is equipped with the relic, the Killiclaw. He also has a Combi Scorcha and his trusty pal, the Attack Squig. His Warlord trait is Brutal but Cunning, so that should help out in combat. In the troops selection, we have a puny unit of 10 Gretchen to sit back on objectives and hide and stay alive as much and as long as possible. In the elites choice, we have a unit of 3 Mega Knobs, all equipped with Combi Scorchas, tough unit, and when they get in combat, they're even better. In the other elites slot, we have a unit of 5 Knobs, all equipped with Power Claws. They will be riding in their trusty truck, charging upfield and getting stuck in as soon as possible. In the heavy support slot, I introduce my 2 friends, Mr. Clank and Mr. Clunk. Taken as a unit of 2 Death Dreads, they are equipped with all their Dread Claws, so that's a total of 8 Dread Claws between the 2 of them. Should be a fun time fielding them. And in another heavy support slot, we have a unit of tractor cannons, mech guns, backfield artillery support. They usually do work and crack open some armor, some transports. Also, in a heavy support slot, we do have a unit of Ludas. Used to take Ludas all the time. Gonna just do 7 tonight with 1 Spanner Boy, so that's a total of 8 Ludas. They're def guns again, hopefully. If we roll well, can do some damage on armored units, because that strength 7 is pretty good. And last but not least, in the heavy support slot, the beautiful Bone Breaker, charging upfield and crushing whatever is in front of him with that Death Rolla. So he's ready to go. And we have 1 flyer, because I always take 1 flyer, usually, to get in that backfield, disrupt units early on in the game. He is taking his extra 2 Super Shooters, so he is decked out at the max with DACA. And then I am paying 2 additional points pre-game, so we're -5 already, to get an auxiliary detachment of another Elite's Choice, 3 more Mega Knobs with their Kami Scorches. And they will also spend 1 point to be put in the Teleporta. So turn 2, turn 3, I can bring them in anywhere I want on the battlefield, at least 9 inches away from an enemy unit. And they can come in, open up with their Scorches, and then charge in with their Power Claws. So that will be 1,250 points of Bad Moon Orks. Let's get into the Adepta Sororitas.
Here is my 1,250 point Adepta Sororitas list. It is a Valorous Heart list. Valorous Heart gives a -1 AP to AP1 and AP2 attacks, and it gives a 5+ army-wide on mortal wounds. So I'm not sure if this list will be bringing many mortal wounds, but it's interesting. But I brought it for a couple other reasons, and one is the Canoness here is the only unit that's really tricked out a little bit, and she has the warlord. Her warlord trait is impervious to pain, which is the order warlord trait, which gives her every time she uses a miracle dice, she regains a wound, and it also gives her a 5-up feel no pain roll. Her relic is the Iron Surplus, which gives her an extra wound, so she's +1 wound. She has transhuman, so 1 to 3 rolls of 1 to 3 to wound, fail, and it also upgrades her regular save to 2+. And her blessing is Emperor's Grace, which gives her D3 wounds back in the command phase. So I just kind of beefed her up. It's really not that expensive, and we'll see how well it does. Other headquarters, I should have said it's a battalion. The other headquarters unit is the Palatine, just straight up. And then troops, we've got sisters. So I've got 4 Battle Sister squads, 2 rhinos for them. I may double them up, it depends. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to deploy them. But we got 4 Battle Sister squads, each one has a heavy flamer. Rhino is going to have my Repentia in it. I've got 2 squads of 3 Penitent Engines coming in, and for fast attack I've got 2 squads of Seraphim coming in, and both squads of Seraphim, my old school ones that are kind of modified with these wings, and my new ones, they each of them have 2 Seraphims with 2 hand flamers each. So that's it. Comes in at 1,250, and yeah, second time out with these. See if I can keep this thing straight in my head. I'm looking forward to the battle.
So we are deployed. We're going to go over Orks, then Adepta Sororitas. The Adepta Sororitas did win the roll-off and chose to be defender and picked the far deployment zone. And the Orks have this one. So with that said, starting with the HQ where he's at, Warboss Bloodgut is in the Battle Wagon, the Bonebreaker, with 3 of his Mega Knobs. He's on the right flank, essentially. On the very back corner of the deployment is the Daka Jet, ready to fly out left, right, straight, wherever he needs to go. Tucked in by the Ork fort here is the Ludas, and they are in objective range of the home objective. We also have the truck dead center full of boys, or knobs, sorry, with the power claws, and they are also upgraded. I don't know if I covered that in the their truck boys, so they can truck and move, and then they can deploy out of it and do their charges if need be. On the left flank we have Clank and Clunk, ready to charge up that way, and then we have the Gretchen. Actually, they're on the front lines and possibly might go left. And then on the left kind of center, we have the tractor cannons with the crews, all ready to hopefully have some fire lanes up the field at, it looks like we can see some Penitent Engines, maybe a Rhino. And then in the Teleporta, we have 3 Mega Knobs ready to teleport in turn 2 or 3 whenever they are needed. So that is Orc deployment. We're going to swing over here and cover Adepta Sororitas.
We're pretty spread out across the deployment zone. Penitent Engines here on my right. Rhino with a couple squads of sisters in it here. My Rhino with my Repentia. Another Rhino with 2 squads of sisters in it. Canis and Palatine are out trying to decide where they want to go. Maybe switch some spots inside the Rhino with the squad. And I've got 2 squads of Seraphim in reserve.
All right, my son's going to roll the Orc dice, see who gets first turn. Looks like Orcs
choose.
Orcs have finished their movement at the top of turn 1. Battle Wagon gunned his engines just a touch forward and kind of wait and see where he's going to go. As did the truck, kind of pulled out alongside here to open up some firing lanes for the Ludas. They stayed put, as did the tractor cannons. Who's this? This is Clank. He moved up into over the ruined wall there, headed towards down the middle, and then Clunk headed off left flank. The Grots did advance into cover of the industrial structure. So that is essentially movement. Oh, and the Docket Jet flew up, and we're going to probably throw some bullets down towards the Penitent Engines and see what we get there. So it's pretty, I would have to say, a non-aggressive Orc first turn, but we kind of just want to see where the Adepta Sororitas are going to kind of roll out to, and then hopefully we can counter. So that is where we are. Let's head into the shooting phase. No psychic phase in this battle, as there's no weird boy on the table, and sisters do not like psychers. Shooting phase, Orc turn 1. What happened? The tractor cannons shot the middle unit of Penitent Engines and did 2 wounds. The Ludas shot, just because of what they could see, shot the right flank, my left flank, Penitent Engines, and put 2 wounds on them. And then the Docket Jet fired everything it had into them and brought 1 down, and then another one is on 3 wounds left. So a little bit of damage there, not too horrendous. So we're going to get into, there's no charges in this turn, so we're going to get into Adepta Sororitas movement next. So we're at Adepta Sororitas turn 1, end of movement phase.
And we had Penitent Engines charge up here. This Rhino's sitting still waiting for things to develop. But one of the squads in it disembarked. Moving back here. I'm always worried about him getting in my backfield with those guys in teleporter. Same thing. Rhino was there, unloaded a squad. They're coming back here trying to prevent that deep strike. Rhino moved up onto that objective. The Rhino, Canis got into the Rhino with the Repentia, moved up on here. And that's pretty much it. Palatine moved over, starting retrieving Nachman data for these guys and starting the mission-specific data retrieval for her. There we go. We'll do some shooting now. All right, pretty straightforward shooting phase. The Penitent Engines flamered the plane, was auto hits, and I have a stratagem that makes them do auto number of hits. So there's lots of flamers into it, and he couldn't make the rolls and flamed it out of the sky. Jace's flyers always are pain in my neck, so it was good to get that one.
And
right.
Yeah, that was it.
I think this is the end of the turn.
So we're gonna go into Orcs, top of turn 2. Well, we have Ork, end of turn 2 movement. This is what happened. Mech Gun stayed put, Ludus stayed put. They also did the data intercept. So at the end of my turn, theoretically, I might score 2 because Clunk over here did advance to get that objective for now. And then up the middle of this board, Clank also advanced to get on that objective. The charge range just wasn't there for me to get off. Tempted to get out with the knobs because they are truck boys. They have that upgrade and charge these pendant engines, but man, I totally forgot about the flamer action. They can, you know, get their overwatch in, and I don't think those knobs would even reach combat with all of that heavy flamer. So I chose to just sit in the truck. They'll have to blow up that truck first to get at me. We'll see if that's the right move or not. On this side of the board, Bonebreaker had to contend with these 2 rhinos over here somehow. The Adepta Sororitas are on 3 objectives currently, so they would score their big 12 next turn if I don't do anything about this. So he came over. Hopefully he'll gun up around here and get a charge off on the rhino. And then the Teleporta Meganobs came in again. Hopefully they get their charge off and charge that rhino. So they'll theoretically grab that objective if I can get in, and then this would contest it. We will see what happens in the shooting phase. The Ludas are out of shooting because they are doing the retrieval, but we do have the mech guns to fire and a couple big shooters here and there. So not much shooting, but hopefully some charges will go off here on the right flank. We'll let you know in the recap. Shooting phase ended. Mech guns targeted the center unit here of Pentagon engines, brought another one down, and then one is left on 1 wound remaining. We also did some stick bomb throwing and some sluggas from the knobs. That was it for shooting on this side. And then over here, the Scorches did a couple wounds here on the Rhino, so nothing too extravagant in the shooting phase. Let's get on to the charge phase of the Orks. Hopefully get off the Bonebreaker charge and the Meganobs charge. Charge phase. Meganobs failed their charge in, unfortunately. They had their here we go rule and rolled 8 for their charge, so 1 shy, and then an 8 again for their here we go rule. So that was unfortunate, but the Bonebreaker did make it in. Whiffed a lot, man. It was kind of poor, but we did knock off 4 wounds from the Rhino, and we do contest that now. So at least that was a success. At the end of the turn, the data retrieval scored me 2 points over there, and we did help, at least help, at the top of, the Adepta Sororitas turn to deny some primary objectives at least. So that was all right. Could have been a little bit better, but it is what it is. So we're going to go into Adepta Sororitas movement phase, and we are at the bottom of turn 2. Sisters, end of movement phase. I'll let Chris go over what happened. We'll start on this end just because I'm over here.
Well, at the end of the phase, these Seraphim dropped in. They used their stratagem to shoot at the end of movement phase after they came in. Lots of shots, and eventually knocked off one of the Ludas. Those Seraphim came in. Don't think they'd be very effective with their weapons against which was Clunk.
Yes, Mr. Clunk.
Clunk. So they started doing Retrieve Knock Mundade over here. Got a big pile in over here.
Look at that.
10 engines kind of converged towards this objective here, and these sisters disembarked, moved their 6, used the miracle dice to get one of them at least towed into that objective, and then the Rhino followed them up. These sisters that were screening out the back moved up here onto this objective. They're starting the
data
retrieval. These girls ran over there, didn't make much of a a charge roll. One, they re-rolled one, so they really didn't get all the way into that table quarter. These guys are sitting here trying to hang on to this objective, and then over here had the Repentia squad and the Canonist disembark, and they're gonna go nuts. They got nothing better to do, so they're gonna charge in there. Well, first we'll do some shooting. So over here now we did some lame shooting. Plasma pistol hit. I don't remember if it did any damage. One maybe, I think.
Yep,
yeah.
took one damage off.
Storm bolter. I don't think did anything over there.
No.
Over here, we had these girls were using the regular shooting. Sorry. Over here, they used their shooting upon descent, and they did the regular shooting and killed 2 more Ludas, I think.
Yeah, there was a total of 5 brought down in this turn.
Yeah. And then over here, the rear unit-dependent engines flamered the truck and destroyed it. They bailed out. He made some bad, poor rolls for the disembarkation, so he lost 2 guys bailing out. The girls shot into them, and there was 1 left. And then the rear pennant engine flamered that guy down, and this guy flamered over here. Took some points off the clank.
Yep.
And now we'll do some charging. Over here, back and forth, these girls attacked, took a couple wounds off of this total. He's down to 12, started with 16 or something.
Yeah.
But 3 of them died as the roller came back on them. Not unexpected, but it's better than sitting in the Rhino waiting. And then over here, Jason's really smart, and he did an interrupt and had Clank interrupt an attack, and he wiped this squad off, but then the 2 that were left went in and finished him up. So lots of metal parts flying around at the end over here.
So it's pretty good turn overall from the sisters. I think they did push back, especially down this alleyway. There's no orcs left on that side. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to do. Somewhat holding strong on the right, but we'll see what happens. It is an objective game, so we'll see what the points roll out. So we're heading into top of turn 3. Not too much for orc movement on top of turn 3, but let's go over it. Over here, we did advance on this Rhino, so hopefully we'll get that charge off. Now, out of the Bonebreaker, Warboss Bloodgut came out. Probably they couldn't really get involved on this side. It's just too tight to fit him in, so he jumped out onto the container and then down. He's going to assault that Rhino. Out of the back of Bonebreaker, 3 of the Meganobs came out here, so we got some Scorch action and maybe a charge just to try and save my home objective. One thing to note, at the end of my turn, I did use the Insane Bravery for 2 points to keep the Ludas on the objective and not fall back, because I did lose 5 and have a leadership of 6. So worth the 2 points for that 4 victory points on the primaries. Mech guns stayed put. Hopefully they can shoot. Over here we advanced the Gretchen. They finally worked up enough courage to join the battle. So they got the objective over here, objective 6. And then Mr. Clunk, he did not advance, he just moved up. So he does have charging capabilities, a 7-inch charge over here to the Pentant engines or the Seraphim. So that was movement onto some shooting. Not too much for shooting orcs, but we got some flamers and the mech guns. We'll let you know what happens. Phase. Tractor cannons brought one of the Pentant engines down, which was always a good thing. The Ludas popped over here and brought 2 down. And in addition, the flamers brought additional 2 down. So we have 1 Seraphim left on that side. Didn't do much with the flamers over here and flamers from Bloodgut. That was minor details. So that was it for shooting. Pretty pleased about bringing a penitent engine down. It's always positive. So let's head into some charges and see what we can do in that. So we're probably going to charge over here to clear off that Seraphim if I can make it. Definitely try and get in with this Rhino. Bloodgut's going to do some damage maybe to that Rhino, and then we got the Death Roller fight going over here. Nothing left live over there, but we have some decisions of whether Clank, now that that penitent engine is gone, charge range is really big, so we might actually pop over there. So let's see what happens in Orc charge phase. The end of Orc turn 3 charge phase. What happened over here? Mr. Clunk got off his charge on Seraphim and brought 4 of the 5 down. She, in return, did not do any damage. Over here, the Mega Knobs, Emperor's Finest, came in and charged the remaining Seraphim and brought her down. Bloodgut and Trusty Attack Squig brought the Rhino down to 3. We killed the rest of the Pencha with the Death Roller, but in return, they brought it down to 9 wounds remaining. And then finally, the slogging teleporter boys, or Mega Knobs, came out and finally crunched the Rhino. So it did score me some points, but ultimately it scored Chris. He brought the troops out, so he's going to score that primary, which is good for him. So that's what happened. Not too bad of a counter punch on the Orc charge. Let's get into bottom of turn 3, Adepta Sororitas.
So these girls are hanging out here, hanging on the objective. These girls ran over here. Oh, these girls started collecting document data too. These girls came up here. They're going to shoot, try to distract these guys from both directions. Tied up in combat over here. Still hanging on to my objective in the back there. Rhino did a power slide in front of these girls to shield them from attacks. This penitent engine made a move in advance. They're going to try to charge here. And the Seraphim jumped out of combat to contest that objective from the Gretchen. We'll do some shooting. Not a lot happened in shooting phase since these guys are performing an action. These girls shot, took a couple wounds off of one of the Mega Knobs. Long distance shooting here didn't do much. Long distance shooting from these guys. Across here, didn't do anything, but the Storm Bolter here, pointing in the right direction, did take out one of the Ludas. And we're going to try to get off a charge here. Four.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right, cool thing for Orcs this time is just kind of something you got to laugh at. Got the charge off, made some hits, rolled, whiffed the wound rolls. So these guys hung on there. They swung back, didn't do much.
They're the blessed Gork and Mork of this game.
And then Rhino died over here, and that was about it, right?
Sister Pencha.
Oh, so rolled over the sensor. This, yes, got them as well.
Okay, so we are now towards the end of the game. We're going to start rolling the turns up like we normally do. We'll do movement, cover, and then shooting, charging all at once. Turn 4, top of turn 4, Orcs finished their movement. What happened? The Mega Knobs moved over here to engage the Penitent engines. The Ludus fell out of combat with that scary beast. Tractor Cannon stayed put. Clunk moved over here, as did the Gretchen, to surround that sister Seraphim. Over here, we squaring off against the 5 troops. Theoretically, maybe could wipe them off there and claim that objective. And then, man, I have a decision here. I made it. The decision is to move Bloodgut in to engage the Cannoness. She's a beast, though, so we'll see what happens. But Orcs are made to fight, so let's see what happens. I was contemplating falling back with the Bonebreaker, actually falling forward, and then maybe turn 5, wipe out the sisters back there. But I chose to stick in combat here. Let's see if that decision haunts me later. So let's go into shooting phase, and then we're going to wrap shooting phase and charge phases all in one. Orc turn 4. What happened? Shooting phase. We didn't do too much in the shooting phase. We did bring one sister down over there. We did take some shots at the Rhino, but passed with the tractor cannons. And we brought the penitent engine down to 2. In the charge phase, you could see the Meganobs made it in, but they whiffed on that. Didn't hurt the penitent engine at all. In return, the penitent engine did bring down one of the Meganobs. Over here, the battle still goes on. Bloodgod did pretty good with his relic and his warlord trait. Brought the Canoness down to 1 wound, and the Bonebreaker didn't do too well with its hits. And then over here, the sisters are down to 1. They did fail the morale and lost 1 in that phase as well. So that is the that is the end of Orc's turn. We're going to head into the Adepta Sororitas, bottom of turn 4, and see what's what.
Okay, just thinking about late game board control. Move these guys back to in the building, but having one of them controlling this. She's coming up here to try to block him if he tries to come out of combat. And this one here. These girls moved up in the hopes that I scored this at the beginning. Going second, I score at the end. So giving them a little bit of protection. Can't be charged by this guy. Trying to block him with this guy, and then maybe they can hop back down 5 to get the points at the end. It's locked in combat, and over here, this squad's coming in to try to help control this objective with that one girl who's still tied up there. Engine went down. Over here, still slugging it out back and forth. She made some really good save rolls. And this one sister swung, took down one wounded Meganob before she was knocked down by the remaining 2. So here we go.
So that is 5. Yep, that is the end of sisters going into top of turn 5. All right, Orcs turn. We did it all in one just to get it done here, turn 5. Meganobs moved up and didn't really do anything for that. Ludas popped some shots in the sisters, did not bring anything down. The Death Dread charged into the Rhino in the charge phase and brought it down to 4. That's pretty much on the Orcs deployment side. Let's see here what happened. Over here, Flamer and Charge went off. We have one sister remaining, so she actually claims that objective, unfortunately, for the Orcs. Over here, we are just duking it out. We have the Canoness down to 2, so she's been regaining some wounds and then dropping some wounds. The Bonebreaker has petered out. I think it ran out of gas. Hasn't really been doing any damage. And then the War Boss is down to 2. So that is it. It's kind of a stalemate as far as movement around the board. So we're going to finish up sisters, and then we'll get into end game results.
For movement, this girl backed out and not get killed in the assault with these guys, but to still control the objective. Over on this side, those girls hopped back down from up top to control that objective. The Rhino backed out of combat so it wouldn't get killed, give him some more points. The Palatine ran up to help control this objective. And the combat has been brutal over here. The Canoness finally killed her War Boss. And yet then she was taken down to 1 by him. The Death Roller thing here came in, attacked her, did take her down her last wound, but I have the stratagem of Divine Intervention and was able to bring her back to hang on to that objective. So was a really quick end of turn 5. I think we'll count them up now.
Yeah, very important though, because you do score. I mean, you're on 4 objectives now, so that's a healthy 12 for this last turn. So that was another battle report, Adepta Sororitas versus Orks. The Adepta Sororitas takes the win tonight. A pretty good fight, I would say. Hopefully it was fun to watch. It was fun to play, definitely. Adepta Sororitas with this extra 250 points, I do think allowed them to become very versatile in getting on all those objectives. I was surprised to see them spread out as much as they did, and they did well. I mean, they allowed Chris to bring 4 squads of troops, and I think he used them wisely to screen that backfield, stop the teleport Mega Knobs from coming in and disrupting his plan, and then ultimately, those Pennant Engine, that big rush down his right flank, that was a scary sight to see. Although Orks, they're not scared, but I was scared as the opponent. I had to figure out a way how to deal with that because Pennant Engines are brutal. I do think the Orks, from the beginning of the game, my strategy, I don't want to say it was sloppy, but I did make some mistakes. Definitely things to learn from. Starting out with the deployment, personally, I probably would have switched the deployment of the battle wagon. It was on my right flank, kind of towards the center, and then to its left was directly the truck knobs, which they had the special rule, the truck boy upgrade, so they could, the truck would move, they could get out and charge. I should have switched that. When I saw the Pennant Engines coming down my left flank through that alleyway again, I should have put that Death Dread, or not the Death Dread, the Battle Wagon, the Bone Breaker, right down the middle, and I think it would have steamrolled a lot of those out of the way. It would have provided an opening down that way to swing around, break that no man's land. Because when you think about it, no model other than one Pennant Engine crossed into the opponent's territory, and it ultimately died. All the both armies met in the middle. Granted, the objectives were there, but nobody pushed forward through there. So you'll hear me say a lot, I like swirling battles, throughout the battlefield, throughout the turns. I like it when armies start to swirl around the battlefield. So, a counterattack will crush a flank, and then it'll swing around, but then the army will then counterattack again and swirl. This one was a stalemate right down the middle, right on those objectives, and it came down to objective secured. So that, and going into it, taking a spearhead detachment with Orks, I had 1 troop, so didn't have objectives secured, so I know I had to pile on those objectives with as much of my armor as possible, and I think it was working for a while. Aside from the deployment mix-up, I turn 2, I should have moved the Gretchen out onto that objective early on in turn 2. That's what allowed me 4 additional points there. That was a mistake. Tactically, I think the biggest mistake I made was that truck full of knobs. I pulled it right up in front of the Pennant Engines, hoping that truck would survive at least maybe 1 or 2 wounds left, and then I could pile out and get my charge off. However, it just did not work that way. Those heavy flamers, pre-game I was not thinking heavy flamers. I should have been, because I played Pennant Engines long enough, but if I were to pile out of that truck and make that charge against those Pennant Engines with those dual heavy flamers, I think it would have gone poorly for the knobs. They on Overwatch, I don't think they would have gotten in. So I played a safer route. Ultimately, I probably shouldn't even have brought that truck down the middle. I should have kept it back at my home objective and used it as a counter assault. I knew Death Dread Clank was going to fall. Ultimately, though, he did bring down 2 Pennant Engines, which was awesome, a worthy fight for him. So that, I think, was the third mistake, which was the nail in the coffin as far as that corridor and my left flank. But you live and you learn. That is the fun part of playing Warhammer. But all in all, it wasn't a complete thrashing from the Adepta Sororitas. It was a pretty close game throughout, but they, like I said before, they were in the initiative, I think, throughout the whole battle. One other point I do want to say, an MVP, I think, definitely goes to the Canoness again for the Adepta Sororitas. She is an absolute beast when it comes to staying alive. I mean, the sisters on a whole, I mean, Chris was rolling fantastically when it came to feel no pain rules and vulnerable saves. So, and sometimes it goes that way, so kudos to Chris on doing that. But the Canoness, I mean, he tooled her up, I don't know to the max, but pretty good upgrades to her. She was regaining wounds when she was using her Acts of Faith dice. Blood cut, got her down to 1 wound, and I just couldn't take the kill as far as Blood Gut. He ultimately fell. Bonebreaker did finish off the Canoness, but then she stood back up with her stratagem. So she's a boss. You'll see her a lot, I'm sure, in all of the Adepta Sororitas battles. I mean, her damage output is good. It's not amazing. It's not a Gulliman or a Gaskell damage output. But again, she sticks around and she will tie up a big portion of the battlefield just with her. You have to pile a lot of attacks into her to truly bring her down. So MVP, Adepta Sororitas, Canoness for sure. MVP for the Orks. Thinking about this one, man, I'd love to give it to Bonebreaker. I was super excited to play Bonebreaker. Wasn't bad. I mean, it stayed alive. It gave me that end game survival point, 5 points for it still being alive. It's just, it got stuck in and it just couldn't get through that Canoness and get through the Repentia fast enough to then get past no man's land and get into this backfield with the sisters. If it would have, I think the Orks again would have disrupted a lot of the objective based part of the game. So I can't give it to Bonebreaker just because he ran out of steam towards the middle of the game and he just couldn't get his attacks off. I am going to give it to my boys, Death Dread Clank and Clunk. They did hold up my left flank. They took on those Pennant Engines. They took on the Seraphim. They took on the sisters. I do think without them, that flank would have folded and you probably would seen a swirl going on there. So they get the MVP of the battle. One of them did fall, but Clunk, Mr. Clunk, he survived the fight. I think I'm gonna probably get maybe 1 or 2 more of those to swap out. I was a little displeased with the Ludas. Yes, they were on the objective, the backfield objective, but with the mission and the retrieval data, they had to spend time doing that instead of shooting, and that's just, you're spending points for those guns and they should be firing. They are Orks. It's daka 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 all game long as they are alive. So probably least swappable unit there, probably the Daka Jet. One other thing I did want to cover before we wrap it up here is the Daka Jet. Man, I was not thinking flamers in this battle. Those Pennant Engines flamed my flyer right out of the sky. I mean, it was an easy thing for the Pennant Engines to do. So lesson learned there as well. Do not fly your flyers over flamer units. Now, I don't think a lot of flamer units out there don't have the amount of heavy flamers in a squad as a Pennant Engine unit would. I think it's a very unique situation there. I just flew right into the wall of flame, and that was a bad thing. I should have probably swooped around my right flank this way and hit on those rhinos and hit on the sister units on the objective's backfield, and then eventually I think that would have been 1 to turn 3 that Dr. Jet would have been making its bank back towards my deployment. And by then, the pennant engines were kind of whittled down to at least 2 in a unit, and then he could have lit them up from back. He hit them from behind enemy lines. So that would have been a better tactic. Another lesson learned when it comes to flyers and pennant engine heavy flamers. So so fun battle. A lot of things learned. I'm excited to play the Orks again. I'm excited to play on this battlefield again. We're gonna get some. I think any army on an Ork battlefield just looks so sweet as they kind of assault into this mech workshop area. Very tight confine. I mean, there was 2 alleyways and they got clogged up very fast. I mean, in a 1,500 point, even 2,000 point army, this battlefield would have been atrociously packed tight. But for Orks, I mean, that's a good fight, right? So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed our battle reports thus far. I've been posting more terrain showcase videos as well. Every time I do a new battlefield setup, I do a very quick, I mean, it's like 2 or 3 minute terrain showcase with a little story behind it and some cool music and the lighting, of course. So like and subscribe. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Till next time, Team Dark Strategies. We'll see you soon.